Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Fuel the Conversation, a podcast for fuel people by fuel people. I am Freddie Riddler, and joined with me, as always, Mr. Kyle Sheehan. Kyle, how are we doing today? Let's not talk about the Vikings just yet. Oh, actually, by the time viewers see this, it might be a make or break deal with the Minnesota Vikings. So maybe just talk a little bit about the Vikes real quick, because
Oh
it's going to
man,
be weird going back when this gets published.
what do you want? We're the first team to win without scoring a touchdown and committing 3 turnovers in the last 10 years. And the last time it happened, it was against us, against Green Bay. I mean, man, that team has enough luck, and they might burn it all before we even get to playoffs. Which is, hey, Minnesota sports in a nutshell. Let's burn all our luck at the beginning of the season, get into playoffs, choke, we'll cry for an hour, and then we'll get back to work, right?
Oh, man, you just summed up all the years of me watching sports in Minnesota. It's kind of sad.
I know. I
So,
mean, I've lived with it my whole life. That's Minnesota sports. We get used to it and we move on.
absolutely, absolutely. So, Kyle, we have a special guest today, Tiffany Robertson from A.R.M. She is the Vice President of Business Development. So, Tiffany, welcome to Fuel the Conversation. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be a part of it.
Awesome. So, I'm going to kick off the very first question. It's a tough one. Who are you and what do you do at A.R.M.?
Well, speaking of football, the Falcons have not had the greatest season yet, but it's still better than all the other seasons we've had before now, thanks to good old Cousins.
Kirk Cousins.
Cousins, I love him. Yeah, Tiffany Robertson, A.R.M Solutions. I'm the Vice President of Business Development over the propane and gas sector here. Super exciting. I have been here probably almost 2 years. When I initially started at A.R.M, I was actually in the waste industry. And I guess it was like back in January, they kind of brought me a little proposition and were like, hey, how do you feel about transitioning over to propane and gas, right? The person that we've had in this industry for a long time is now retiring. What do you think? And when someone offers you to no longer be the trash lady, you're going to take that opportunity, right? So that's kind of how I'm here, right? That's how I got here.
Well, I want to say welcome to the propane industry. It's a tight knit community. There's a lot of
Yeah,
great people in this industry, and I hope as you get out there, you make those connections, make those realizations, because there are just so many great people in here.
I totally believe that. Except for Freddie, I totally believe that, guys.
Yeah, well, welcome to the non-crappy industry. Hot pun intended.
Yep, yep.
Awesome. Well, cool, Tiffany. So, Kyle was talking to Kyle before the podcast, and he came up with a lot of great questions that I'm gonna let him kind of ask you about collections and when marketers turn to collections. So, Kyle, since these are a lot of your ideas, I'm just gonna kick this over to you to kind of ask Tiffany those questions you asked me about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always think of collections as kind of like the last step, right? You try to be the good person. You try to be the person that, going back to when my grandpa did business, you shake hands and you expect that person to make that payment they shook your hand over. That's not life, right? That's not always what happens when you go and put product into somebody's tank, or you go and do a service for them and you want your cost out of it. You want to make a little profit and to be able to provide that service to others. So I kind of want to start with, what are some things that you guys look at that you go, what should companies do before it gets to the point where we as a company for A.R.M provide the service to do that next step of collections? What do you think that companies don't do today and they should be doing? And what are some, maybe just some piece of advice to a propane marketer, the initial collection attempt?
Yeah, great question. So, that's kind of one of the main things that I kind of start with when I first start talking to a customer, anyways, is I don't want them to think about A.R.M in particular as a last ditch effort, only because we do offer three different services. And one of them is going to be like our multi channel flat fee service, which is really before contingency, which is what people typically think about when they think about collections. They think of it as a last ditch effort. But even before they're ever sending it to us in our multi channel flat fee service, I always try to recommend that they create a really tight internal policy, right? I want them to have just really small changes and they make all the difference. Things like having a card on file, setting up auto payments, that is seriously huge. Most recently, I actually had a potential customer I was talking to, and they told me that they offer their customer a 10% discount. Maybe it was 5%. A discount, right? They offer them a discount if they pay their bill within the first 10 days of it becoming due. And to change that mindset of it being a positive to pay on time rather than having a negative effect for paying late, I mean, you would be surprised how many of his customers pay on time. I immediately thought during that conversation, I'm like, he barely even needs us, right? So I would say having a card on file. I'd say reaching out early and often, right? I think so often we worry about reaching out to someone too early, like maybe it's going to upset them or something. No, reach out, remind them. Don't give them enough time to forget about you.
Absolutely. And do you see like that early communication? Does that really start at the time that driver's there, right? Do you see certain things that you maybe verbiage or wording or things that you put on an invoice that that first point of contact hands to a customer? What are some things maybe you see in that that might be missing? Is it not giving prices? Is it incorrect taxes? Is it maybe just verbiage on how you're talking to the customer, not physically, but on a piece of printed paper?
Absolutely. Even just setting the scene, knowing what they're signing up for before you even get there, right? Having that information on that paperwork that they're going to sign, your driver should be recapping kind of what's to come, right? If it's not paid by this date, this is what happens, right? We cut it off or whatever it is. And then also to your drivers, even your customer service folks that are talking to these customers initially when they're trying to set up service, just making sure that they have all the correct information on how to reach that customer later on. It's so exciting when someone's calling your business and they're ready to set up this new service, right? They just bought this new house. We're setting up propane. This is so awesome. They're super excited. You're really excited too, right? But let's not forget that it's very possible that something could happen, right? We need to be able to reach out to these people. We don't only just need their first and last name. It's like, is this the right billing address? Do you have a physical address too? Do you have what's your phone number? What's your email address? Do you guys is text messaging a good way to communicate? Whatever that is, get that card on file. All of this is seriously so important before you ever even turn the propane on.
Absolutely. And in terms of text messaging, that's a great point. How much
Yeah.
of even what you guys do for a company is more automated? Is that something you see that's not being utilized as much where generate them a text message automatically when they get the delivery, do it again when the invoice is ready, do it again when you reach a 30-day mark, then a 60-day mark, then kind of get more aggressive potentially with those messaging. And at what point do you say the text message is not going where it's supposed to, the email is not going where it's supposed to? What requires, at what level do you feel or recommend human intervention is required? I need to call and leave a voicemail, or I need to call the four numbers I have on file to physically talk to them, because make sure that it's maybe not getting there.
30 days. I would say don't let an invoice go past 30 days without someone in your office reaching out to that customer, especially if throughout that time your emails or your text messaging or your letters have gone, without a response. Absolutely. Yeah, 30 days for sure. And definitely lean on technology, right? Lean that way. If it can work for you, let it. And really, that's one of the beauties of even our integration together is it just creates that automation for customers where it's just one less thing that they have to do, right? One less person they have to talk to during the day. They're already having to talk to you guys. They're already having to talk to us. They're already having to talk to their customers. It's like, do we really have to make collection calls right now too? It just feels like one more thing, and it's annoying.
I made a note here that's something because I just had a conversation with somebody about giving a customer a discount, and they're very hesitant on that. I think I figured out a way to um, have a conversation with this company again because you made a really good point. I'm guessing you guys use analytics as well, just like we do, to say, this is how often your customers are going past 30 days, or this is how often we're having to send out collection fees, or this is how often we're having to make these phone calls to call these customers not paying their bill. Can we compare that to someone who gives discounts? And then we can say, okay, as a company, you offered, I'm just making a number up, $50,000 of discounts last year, but in the past you spent over $120,000 on fees and phone calls and letters and so on and so forth. I mean, that's the type of integration between the two systems, correct? I mean, because we have the data on our end, you have the data on your end. This is something we could collaborate together to use more of a way to say, use the collection agency like A.R.M. to help you with those numbers that you're looking for. Why are our customers going in debt or not debt? Why are customers not paying their bill? And now you can offer solutions to that end user. Here's how to keep them out of our system.
Absolutely. And it comes down to what price do you put on your time, right? What price do you put on your time? Because if it's be competitive with your pricing so that way you can afford to offer these discounts. But by doing that, it's like, would you rather do that in the beginning, or would you rather basically be a line of credit for your customers when they're waiting 120 days, 160 days, whatever it is, to pay you on time? Or you could literally cut 25 bucks off this bill and now you're paid on time. It's like, weigh it out, right?
That's something that a lot of people, including myself, have a very difficult time doing, is putting that monetary value to what is your time worth during that day. And if you're calling the phone and doing collections, but you have that analytical brain that goes, I'm better in efficiencies, you can improve the delivery efficiencies with that time. Weighing those out and going, not only what's my time worth, but where's my time better spent throughout the day. So, what I hear a lot with collection services, third party collection services, is that scenario where you talk to a company, they go, well, I'm really good at my AR. I keep my AR low. I move people over to COD statuses and don't allow deliveries unless they paid me. There's those different things. So I'm keeping that really low. Can you go into a little bit what a third party collection company like A.R.M. offers that maybe companies like that are not quite thinking of, besides the saving of time on making those calls?
You know, it really comes down to that third party leverage, right? Because it doesn't matter how great someone is at their job, any of us, right? There's still going to be the stragglers that just don't follow the rules, right? No matter how great your team is internally, you're going to have people that don't pay their bill, especially in 2024, right? And we're not going to get into the economy, but it's just one of those things where people are just not paying their bill right now more than they ever have. And so, yes, is it great for A.R.M? Sure, but mentally it doesn't feel good. And I we want to look out for these customers. Um, but it's one of those things where it comes down to our third party leverage. Things don't really get real for a customer until a collection agency gets involved, because up until then they thought this was going to go away, right? Especially these mom and pop companies that are so wonderful to work with. They truly believe that Karen in the front office, she's never going to send me to collections. No, no, no. She's going to let me go until next June before I ever even have to pay, because she's so sweet. And I saw her at Kroger last week and we waved at each other, and she would never do that to me. Well, being nice and having great customer service shouldn't come at that price, right? We should all still be able to do our jobs and still get paid. And you don't want to put yourself or your business in jeopardy for that reason, right? We can do both.
Yeah. So it's really that classic saying of, a lot of people are robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? You're trying to offset one because they're being a little bit nicer to go and pay this one that's becoming a little bit more ornery with you. What I'm hearing there is, how do you as a business become Paul, right? And A.R.M. and the third party collection can help you become Paul, of saying, hey, it hits a little bit different when there's a little weight behind that. When there's a repercussion behind it, it's no longer Mary at the store and I saw her at the basketball tournament last week and our kids are together. Nobody likes to have that conversation with a member of your community. You don't like to be that member of your community, but at the same point, you are offering a service and you're running a business. And this is what keeps your lights on as the business, as your family, keeps the employees paid, keeps the health coverage supplemented for them all those things. And it is tough to have that conversation. That's where you guys step in.
Well, let's switch gears here just a little bit. So we talked a lot about, or just questions about your service, but let's talk about the integration with RCC. Typically, we would have these right away when the integration's just really fresh and new, but we've been integrated with A.R.M for a very long time. I don't know the specifics, a decade maybe, Kyle. I mean, you probably might know
Oh,
that.
it's been a
Longer than
lot
that,
longer than that.
15
I
years,
mean, uh,
19 years.
it has been. Yeah. As long as I've been at RCC, ARM has been one of our partners for third party
I
collections.
think
And
you're right. Same with me too. So at least 2 decades. My question to you two, and you probably know more of this than I do at this point. But what's new? Like what's happening with ARM now with RCC? Talk a little bit about that integration from from the customer unfortunately not paying their bill to where you guys kind of step in with our help and how that all kind of happens, how the data gets passed back and forth. For a lot of viewers that might not know, we have a collection service like this.
Our collection service, we have a web view portal, right? So we kind of have our own software. And we try to make things, collections is already not overly exciting to talk about or like the best part of anyone's day, right? So we try to make it as simple and user friendly. It's not, I wouldn't say we make it fun, but we want to,
Yeah.
we try to do our best on our end. And even when you're not even companies that use like QuickBooks, right? And maybe they're not at the level of being with someone like RCC yet, right? They can still pull like a CSV file and it is what it is, right? It's still easy. But by having RCC, that software, and then also having ARM and being able to integrate the two, it just makes life so much easier. It almost takes one whole person out of the equation because that's where that automation comes in. And you're right. We have had this integration for a long time, but like both of our businesses, we've both grown, right, over the years. And the amount of staff that we even have, the amount of times that we can even have conversations like this, and just build off of the new things that we have to come up with in our company, right? It's so nice to do that, but also I think thinking about customer service, our back end customer service, your back end customer service, any mutual customer of ours has a dream team on both ends. If they have a problem, they can reach out to either one. They're going to be helped right away. Even the setup process is so easy and seamless between our customer service along with you guys, right? They're copied in the whole way, but basically all the setup we pretty much do on our ends together, right? And it's also nice too because this is all at no cost to them, right? There's no fee on your end, there's no fee on our end, right? And the information that they're going to have within RCC is now mirrored on our end as well. So that includes customer information, that includes balances. Let's say they go in and add a credit or whatever else. It just takes that one step out where they're able to provide information to us and update us without having to give us an update. And that's where that integration comes in. And actually, fun fact for you guys, of course, we have integrations with other companies as well, but you guys are actually the only one that you're able to have the option to roll from phase one to phase two. You're our only partner that does that. And so it's like, I think that just says a lot for where we are both in the technology world, right? Where we're both trying to get to and be helpful to our customers. So it's really exciting, honestly, and it's a great feature to have.
And there's some exciting things coming down the pipeline too. As you've said, we've both grown as companies. So there's some fun things that are coming down the pipeline that are part of that integration that should make it a little bit more seamless, passing information a little bit more what we consider real time versus manual pushes versus scheduled task pushes. So there's some really exciting things. And what I heard from those comments from you is RCC has really worked, and Freddie's pushed that model, making propane sexy. I think you guys got to do making collection sexy. It's got to come out here sooner or later, right?
With the hair flip.
He's on to something. I'm telling you, he's on to something.
Yeah, that's exactly why we're trademarking making propane sexy, Tiffany, because I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. You can co-brand with us one day. That'll be awesome. So, Tiffany, that's great stuff, and I love that the innovative thinking of on our part, your part, to say we have this integration, but what else can we do? And that comment you made has come with a lot of our vendors, a lot of our third party integrations. They always say you're the only company doing this, you're the only company doing that, and it's because with our team that we have here at RCC, you might say, we request RCC to do this. We're going to turn and say, well, what else can we do with it? Because we're both providing a service for the end user. So we listen to our customers like A.R.M does as well. And that's when we come up with these great solutions. And I'm glad that we're moving towards that of doing things or adding value to both of our services to the industry.
And part of that is, we really try to be pretty heavily involved within events that are industry, getting out there, figuring out, it's pretty tough when you're sitting here, especially during the heating season, which you'll find is a little bit different than the trash industry, as we have this season where it's really, it's high stress, there's lots of things happening. And then come spring, that's where we start going out there and engaging and figuring out what could have gone different for the heating season prior. What could we have offered or changed or done differently that would help improve your business and your life? So what are some of the other ways that you're kind of getting out there and listening to the propane industry? And is there anything you've noticed from the trash industry where you go, man, it would be really cool if the propane industry had something similar to this?
Well, I think the overall smell, just really is probably the first thing that's just caught my nose initially was the big difference. But no, it's the industries are very similar when it comes to both being very blue collar, right? Um, and but I will say one of the big things is, like I said, I've only been in propane and gas for 11 months now or so. I just started in January, and I had some larger shoes to fill. And, by having someone in my position that was in my position for like 9 years before I came about, it feels like there's so much to learn, right? And I'm sure you guys know, even being in this industry, it feels like you're learning something new every single day, which is great. But what I've really tried to do this year is I've tried to go to as many just association shows, right? I've tried to just go to these expos, really trying to get involved with NPGA, whatever I can to try and dive in and learn from my peers. And I will say, even both of you guys, right? I know my conversations have been more with Freddie than you, Kyle, but it's like whenever we have an opportunity to chat, it's like what I want to do. Freddie and I were just in San Antonio in August. It was August, right? Yeah, September maybe. It
September, I
was
think.
it was so recent. Either way,
October, I don't know.
it was.
I think it was October. I really do think it was October. That's okay.
Oh my gosh! I'm like, was it like January of this year? So gosh, whew, it feels like Monday. But yes, it's like we were just there recently with each other. I think you're right. It was like the first week of October. But even just that time, I feel like I try to like rack his brain anytime I can, right? Of like, what do you do in these scenarios? Like who is this person within this industry? It's like, because as you know, there's so many people. Once you're in the propane and gas industry, it feels like we just all stay here, right? It's like you have these people that could be in this one business, and maybe they decided to take a position in another business, but it's still at a propane and gas company, right? So it's like, well, this person used to be here, but now they're here. They're super awesome. They're integrated with us. They do this. It's like, it's just really cool. And so I think to learn that information, figure out what it's all about, even hearing about just certain things. I spoke with a company a lot long ago, and they're very involved in agriculture. And even talking about how they were like, yeah, like we're really working on just because we're like a super mom and pop type of company. They're like, we're working with local school systems to be able to have some of these buses running off propane, or people having their lawnmowers or whatever. It's just so many different things, and I'm like, what? I mean, you start thinking like, man, I've just had my head in a trash can for so long that maybe I just didn't realize. But it's super awesome, and it's the greatest industry. And I've really just enjoyed diving in. So I thank both of you honestly for helping me out. And I'm sure there are plenty of people that are mutual customers of ours that have also helped me actually, and just kind of been like, well, Tiffany, no, things are actually this way. And I'm like, noted. Like I didn't know that, but now I do.
Yeah, the propane industry it's a large scale, but it's a very small family. Like, you run into the same people at the same events, and those same people are not just anybody. They're like your family, they're your friends, and just like you said, when we sat in San Antonio, we messaged each other and said, let's meet us and for dinner one night, and we all went out. We had NPGA people. We had a couple marketers with us. Jess was with us, Kyle's sister, Jess, one of the co-owners of RCC. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And that's where you gain the most knowledge of what's happening in the industry. That's where you gain what all of our services can do. I personally have grown just learning all the different services out there. There's vendors out there that I heard their name 1,000 times, but I'm like, I'm not quite sure what they do. And the ones that attend or are engaged in NPGA, those are the ones that are making a difference in the industry. The ones that are putting extra time and effort, like you just flying out to San Antonio just to be there, that's the ones I see that are saying, that to me are saying, we're here to listen, learn, and make changes for this industry. That was a great question, Kyle.
And when you stick around long enough, eventually you talk to the siblings and the daughters and the sons, and you realize, oh man, like this, it really is a family. We have a staff member, Barry Barksdale. A little shout out to Barry. He'll tell stories about, I trained this company sitting at their dining room table, and now we're talking to their son who took over the business. Now they have a grandkid that's starting to learn how to paint tanks and dig trenches and do all these things. So it really is a fun industry. Welcome to it. Look forward to seeing you more and more and more out at the trade shows next year. Enjoy your off season for us, and good luck to all of the marketers out there that are getting into their busy time.
Yes.
Absolutely. And two things, and I'll finish this out. One, you just aged Barry, so that's on you, Kyle. So when this comes up and he hears it, that's you. Two, if you want to learn more about A.R.M, which I'll let you plug your website and your email in just a second. But if any RCC customers are watching this or not, if you really want to engage with A.R.M and learn who they are face to face, come visit us at the RCC Customer Seminar. It is in San Antonio, June 16th to the 20th. You can email sales@rccbi.com. You can go to rccbi.com. You can email Francie at rccbi.com. Send a carrier pigeon our way, whatever you want to do. Make sure you come to our seminar, because Tiffany's going to be there in person with a bunch of other vendors as well. And that's where you really can sit down and talk to her and her team about all the services that they provide. But if you're not going, Tiffany, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, they should just totally be going, because who doesn't love a little face-to-face chat? But I would say, aside from that, going to our website, they can always send me an email. I'm very 2024. They can also send me a text message, call me, whatever, pull me aside, send Freddie a text and say, hey, Tiffany hasn't answered my call. Can you please call her right now? Just whatever. Right. But yeah, I'll absolutely, I'll send you guys my information, T Robertson at ARMsolutions.com. And, you guys can just shoot me over something.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being our guest on the Fuel the Conversation podcast, Tiffany.
Absolutely. I'm such a celebrity now.
Yes, you are. Thanks so much. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you for joining Kyle and Freddie's podcast, Fuel the Conversation.
A podcast for fuel people by fuel people. We really hope you enjoyed today's topics and you found them interesting, and we hope that you pulled some value out of our conversation today.
To hear more podcasts from Kyle, myself, and special guests, you can catch us on Spotify, Amazon Music, or the iTunes Store.
To find out more information on RCC, you can visit our website, www.rccbi.com. You can also find us on Facebook under Rural Computer Consultants, also under LinkedIn under Rural Computer Consultants, or go ahead and give us a follow on Twitter at RCCInc79.
If you'd like to contact us directly, email us at sales@rccbi.com.
This is Kyle signing off.
And this is Freddie.
Until next time.